I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of Master, and the compassion and mercy of grand predecessors, transmitters, temple masters, lecturers, and everyone here to give me this opportunity to talk about today's topic. First will be chapter 40. And if we have a little bit more time, we'll do section of 41. Okay, so 40, it's believe it or not, it's the shortest chapter in the whole classic. I believe it's only, sorry, it's only like 21 words. Yeah, it's the shortest. Okay, chapter 6 is also one of the shortest, but I think chapter 6 is 25 words. So it's the shortest chapter in the entire Tao Te Ching. Okay, and it's kind of interesting because it's like in the middle, right, of the whole classics, right? 81 chapters, 41 would be the exact middle one. 41 also happens to be a long chapter, which we're gonna be, if we have some time today, we'll talk about once the first section. Okay, all right. So chapter 40, it's an interesting chapter. All right, it's it's 2 sections. All right, the first one is talking about the movement and the, I guess, the duality. Okay, maybe that's another movement duality. That's another term. And then the conclusion is and then the second section, the conclusion is talking about how the Tao works. Now, this is chapter 40 is it's like a summary. Yeah, it's like a summary. You can say it's like a summary of talking about the way Tao works. Then in chapter 42, we'll go into more specific, and that's the cosmology. Okay? All right. So this is chapter 40. It's very short. Let's go to the outline. Okay. All right. Now, it's called, the title now, it's called Fan Fu, okay, Zhang, or returning repetition. I mean, it's kind of redundant. Literally, if you look up the dictionary, Fan Fu, it could mean again, again, or, once again, or something like that, okay? Or the other alternative title is called Utilization of Tao. Yeah, about how the Tao works, kind of. All right? Okay, so, all right, so that's the title. All right, so the first, it's only four phrases, okay, 2 lines, right? So that which returns is the movement of the Tao. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. 反者, it just means if you look at a dictionary, the dictionary meaning is that which reverses course. So it's like a circular movement that goes, really far away. So it's just, and it comes back to the point of origin. So it's the cyclical nature of the manifestations of the Tao. Okay, it's the manifestations, the cyclical nature, okay, of the Tao manifestations, if you will. All right. Then there's another term, another meaning. Okay, the meaning of this 反者, right? That's the 反者. Okay, it's the returning, is that which reverses course. It's a circular, cyclical movement that goes very far out, then returns back to the point of origin. Now, this phrase, okay, 反者, okay, is an echo of previous chapters, like chapter 25, that connects the passing and receding with returning. Okay, so for example, this line is great means passing, passing means receding, receding means returning. Okay, so this term is another You can say it's a summary of section 2, chapter 25. That phrase, okay? Great means passing, passing means receding, receding means returning, okay? All right. 大曰死，死曰远，远曰返. Okay. All right. So another meaning of this phrase, that which returns is the movement of Tao, is that it does not necessarily mean the motion has to be a great cycle or ellipse. The motion just simply going somewhere and comes back. Okay. So it doesn't have to be circular motion or circular, or cyclical. Well, it's still a cycle. Doesn't matter. It has to be circular. Okay. So it's like a pendulum, okay, which moves from side to side. So it's not circular, right? Pendulums, I guess, is, I don't know, linear. I don't know. But it's still cyclical, right? It goes from one extreme to the other extreme. Okay, so that's me. Okay, so additional meaning. So it's kind of like metaphorical. Like life is like a pendulum, right? Okay, many transitions from one state to another and then back again. From happiness, for example, from happiness to sadness, then back to happiness. So it's like an up and down, right? Up and down, okay? All right. So imagine a metaphysical pendulum that goes from happiness to suffering and back again, okay? So you can think of that. Now, that's what this would apply to the human level, right? As opposed to the cosmic level, right? Okay? So the basic meaning of the movement of the Tao, okay, literally movement Tao. Since the Tao is the principle embedded in everything, right? It's the underlying principle of all phenomena, okay? So that's the one true reality, right? That's the Tao that creates all realities, right? So this movement, represents the cyclical nature of the manifestations of the Tao, the origin of all phenomena. Okay, so what Lao Tzu is just saying is that the manifestation, the nature of the manifestations of the Tao, that's what the movement of the Tao is, that it goes in cycles. Okay, that's the manifestation. It's not the Tao, but it's the manifestation of the Tao. Okay, all right. Okay. Another understanding of the movement of the Tao is, hence we see cycles or great circles, circular movements, for example, throughout nature. Okay, the cosmos and existence itself. For example, movements of the galaxies around each other. Okay, I mean, it's going to take a long time. Probably takes, I don't know, hundreds of millions of light years. Okay, time of worth. Okay, of time, or billions of years. Okay, whatever. Okay, all right. And the stars of the galaxies around their galactic center, like our Milky Way galaxy. The sun. Which is, I forgot what arm it is. Is it the? It's a it's either the Sagittarius or the Perseus arm. I don't know. I've heard astronomy, but it revolves around the galactic center of the Milky Way. Okay, and also orbits of planets around the stars, the moon around the Earth, the high and low tides, the changing of 4 seasons, the passing of day to night, creation, destruction, being and non-being, birth and death. So these are all cycles, okay? All right, additional understanding. So for sake of simplicity, we can see circular or cyclical movements from 4 levels in nature. Okay, for example, 1, the heavens, the sky. Okay, 2, the earth. That's the ground level. Okay, ground level environment, ground level reality. then the myriad things, that's all living things, okay? And then human beings, we're being the subset of living beings. Okay, so now the second phrase, there's more details, but okay, we'll get there. All right, so further understanding is for humans, visualize your life as revolving around the yin and the yang, okay, those two complements, where the yang represents the brightest, the best, the brightest, okay, and yin represents the darkest and the worst, okay. So though unlike the regularity of the changing of the four seasons, should be four seasons, or the passing of the day to night, of the passing of day to night and back to day, where the amount of time in each phase is roughly the same, right? So, the four seasons, roughly what, 91 days, three months, roughly, right? More or less. And the day and night is what, 12 hours. That's the average. Okay, that's between the two. Obviously, in the different seasons, the night and day would be different, right? Okay, so the time you are in the negative or the yin part may be longer than the positive part or the yang part. Okay, so you may speed up or slow down from brightness to darkness and back again, vice versa. Okay, so from a human, it differs, just like in nature to some degree, right? We're right now in spring, right? Just like what's that? 4 weeks ago, last month, we had the spring equinox, or when I think, didn't we do the what you call that, the daylight savings thing? Okay, so that's during the spring equinox, which is Latin, means equal night. It just means we have 12 hours a day daylight and 12 hours of darkness or non-daylight. Okay, so that's the equinox. But then when we come to the solstice, that means we're going to have more hours of daylight and less hours of darkness. And then goes back to, well, then we pass through autumn equinox, and then comes winter equinox, winter solstice in December, right? December 21st or something like that. That's when we have shortest daylight and longest night, darkness, right? So we humans also go through these cycles in life. Okay, all right. Okay. So the deeper understandings, one of the original purposes of Tao cultivation, per the Book of Changes or the I Ching, okay, was to help humans understand change, right? That's what the Book of Changes is all about. It's to tell us about what change is, okay, or how things change, okay? So sort of to help us understand, hey, in this phenomenal world, things are always changing, and if it lets us understand these changes and help us prepare either to cope with it, deal with it, etc., etc. All right, okay. So by helping humans understand change, then, for example, way back, 3,000 years or more ago, hunter-gatherers, okay, and farmers need to know the change in seasons. That's how humans could survive, right? When we know there's winter, we better, store up food, etc., right? Stay warm, etc., right? Okay. And what's so important to understand about change? Okay, so there are four, you can say, respects in four areas. Okay, why and how a particular change happens. Why and how. Okay, then the factors contributing to its cause, that is the change, and then the effects it will have. So cause and effect, and then the patterns it follows. So even though things may change, but they all follow, they have certain patterns to it. Okay. So you can say there's a certain level of regularity or normalness to the changes. Okay. So this now, this is nature. Okay. I mean, yeah, so we understand this is from the physical, but actually it applies to the human realm too. So just like history, history is humans, right? I'm not talking about nature, but I'm talking about humans. So people say, some historians say, people say history repeats. Now, in a strict sense, that's not true. Okay. History doesn't exactly repeat. For example, the rise and fall of, I don't know, empires, dynasties, civilizations. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't, it's not identical, from one civilization or one dynasty or one empire to the next. It's not identical, but the overall patterns are similar. And just example, just look at the four seasons, same thing. All right. I mean, yeah, we say the four seasons. Okay. Generally, there's what from, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Right. So every year, right, these four seasons repeat. So in that sense, in the broad general sense, seasons repeat, right? I mean, now, but today is what? April 18th. So we're in spring, right? Relatively. Mid-spring, maybe. All right. Late spring. So the weather today, April 18th, 2021, I'm pretty sure it's not identical to the weather, let's say temperature, for example, to the temperature on April 18th, 2020. It's not identical. It's unlikely. I mean, it's possible, but it's highly unlikely. Okay, so it's not identical, but we know it's still spring. It's still part of spring. April 18th, 2020 was part of spring. It's probably same thing. I don't know, the ninth week of spring or whatever it was. Okay. So same thing this year. Okay. But so it's the same pattern, similar pattern, but it's not identical. All right. So same thing with history. History repeats similar pattern, but it's not identical. All right. Same idea. Okay. Same idea. All right. So the okay. So higher sense, we study the changes and transitions so that when things going well for us, all right, we become even more humble. Okay. So that's from chapter 39, section 3, attain oneness. Okay. We talked about that last week, right? Okay. And the second point is we guard against complacency. It is how success can suddenly collapse. That's the downfall of not just humans, right? Humans. One of the variable, one of the big, sorry, big factors, right? The factors, okay, factors, all right, contributing to change is, or in this case, downfall, right? Change is we tend to become complacent when we reach a certain level. I mean, right? So if you look at some, they, let's say they became the, I don't know, greatest, I don't know, athlete or something. I don't know, greatest, whatever. It doesn't matter. Politician, leader, whatever, doesn't matter. But then complacency sets in, and then that's how, their competitors or whatever would overtake you. So same idea. All right. Okay. So that's one of them. Okay. All right. And then the other thing is why we also contribute to the, we become arrogant. right? Hubris. And that's true with what? At the human level, at the social level, political level, dynasty level, civilization level, etc. Okay? All right. So that's okay, two factors. Now, that's when things are going well. We got to be careful. So we have to guard against being not humble or become arrogant and being complacent. Okay, that's when things are going well, positive, the yang side, the yang portion part. Now, what about the yin side or the negative side, or when things are not going well for us? Okay, first thing, we know that strong wind does not last all morning and sudden rain does not last all day. That's from line 2 of chapter 23 with the Tao, right? Tong Tao, okay? So we know bad things are temporary, do not last forever. Remember, we're talking about when things are not going well for us, right? So it's just like the strong wind, which is considered not normal, or in this case, it's negative, right? Strong winds are bad, right? I mean, they're not good, right? Okay, they have bad effects, okay, results. And also sudden rain means downpour, these, huge thunderstorms, okay? They don't last all day. So we should know that these are extreme events. That's not typical of the Tao, okay? So therefore, bad things are also temporary. They don't last forever, all right? All right. So, two, since it's temporary, then we have to be strong spiritually. We have to understand it, and okay, and spiritually means mentally. You can say mentally. Okay, we should be aware or cognizant of that. Okay, so then we can hold on to hope. We know that, hey, these bad things, negative things, whatever, are not going to last. Okay, they're still temporary, nevertheless. And then three, once if we know that, then we can prepare. We know that, hey, it'll change. The situation, the circumstances that's bad will change for the better. Okay, and then when the actual pendulum reverses course, times when the actual situations, circumstances that are negative start to change for them, we'll be ready. All right. Okay. So that's why it's important to know the changes, how things change. Okay. All right. So the implication is that the Tao moves in circular like or cyclical like fashion. It's similar to the Western saying, that which goes around comes around. Okay? So the key point is one of the purposes of Tao cultivation is to be able to master the transitions from one state to another and to focus on the process instead of the end result. Okay? So it's the process. Okay? So in life, it's like in life, it's the journey that is more important than the destination. How one lives one's life, okay? That's more important, okay? All right, okay? That's more important, okay? All right, okay, all right. Ah, jeez. Okay, all right, okay, all right. That is being in the moment, okay? Okay, so it's not that necessarily the end result. Okay, thinking about the future possibilities or future eventuality. That's not the most important. The most important is the journey. That it's called being in the moment. Okay, it is because of this circular like or cyclical nature of the Tao that allows the Tao to continuously create life. So just like all living things that exist in the world must have seed stock, it is because of the seed stock that all living things can exist continuously. So the returning is the nature of heaven and earth. Okay. So it's more about the journey. Okay. The process. Okay. That's being in the moment. Okay. That is having seed stock. Okay. Another way of saying. All right. Okay. Second phrase of section 1. That which is weak is the utilization of the Tao. Why he choose the word weak? That's interesting. Okay, so the basic meaning is the weak is not about lacking physical or spiritual strength, nor about being powerless, but those that is soft and supple. Okay, so just understand even though this is the direct translation, weak, Lao Tzu is not talking about physically or spiritually weak. He's talking about soft and suppleness. Means to be alive. Okay. All right. Living things. Okay. So it specifically refers to things that exhibit flexibility and pliancy, suppleness, that is living things. So he's talking about living things, okay, not about inanimate things, okay? So additional meaning is, for example, infants are full of life and thus also full of softness and weakness, right? We say that's weakness, right? Infant is weak, right? Okay, so another standing is that now the opposite. Why didn't Lao Tzu choose the phrase instead of raw? Okay, this is pronounced raw. Raw means weak. How come he didn't use the phrase strong? 强 or 刚, 刚 means stiff, hard, okay? So why didn't he use the word, hard or strong? Because what's hard or stiff are dead, okay? So it's in line 71, another couple of other chapters, but specifically in chapter 76, which the title appropriate is 柔弱. That means soft and weak or supple and weak. Okay. So, in line 1, yeah, chapter 76, he'll talk about, he'll go a little bit more detail, talk about, between the soft and weak versus the stiff and the hard. Okay. So, and what's stiff and hard are dead. Okay. Dead. Okay. So, the dead cannot be the utilization of the Tao. Okay. Cannot use the Tao. What good is that? Right. Okay. All right. So that's why he used that term, the weak. Okay. So another understanding is in life, similarly, in life, the Tao is not about being strong, hard, forceful, or aggressive. Okay, that's very important. Remember, rather it's be like water, which is the ultimate in softness, which I'll get to. All right. Okay. Another standing. The Tao is about the light touch and the soft whisper, the soothing, healing, and relaxing, being considerate and thoughtful of others, letting go of the need to control, contend, or interfere. These are the implications of being soft or weak, or applying the teachings of softness to life. Okay, so that's what all the more nuances of what the weak or weakness is. Okay, so deeper understanding level is this: is the best metaphor for the weak is water. Okay, it flows around obstacles. It doesn't try to overwhelm something. It just goes around it. Okay, so that's the soft approach. Okay, so or the flexible approach has no need to contend. It sidesteps conflicts or obstacles and moves on. So it nurtures the myriad things. So all those around us, the water. Okay, so the ultimate in softness, weakness, and flexibility. That's what water is, right? And at the same time, also the ultimate in authentic power, the true power, okay? The actual real power. Because you can't break water, whereas steel you can break, right? You can crack, you can bend it, okay? All right, so because this is soft, water is soft, it cannot be broken, all right? Okay, all right. So the basic meaning of the Dao Ziyong, okay, literally means the use of Tao. But since the Tao is the principle behind everything, then it's also the driving force behind life itself. In biology, procreation, flora and fauna, that's animals and plants. So it creates everything, right? Just like, I think it's last chapter, we talked about the mirrored things, right? When we attain oneness, right? When the world attain oneness, it has gives rise to mirrored things. Okay, all right. That's the Tao. That's the application or the manifestation of the Tao. Okay, all right. And understanding is now the connection between circular or cyclical movements. That's the first line or the first phrase, and the process of life, which is this line. It's like the circle of life, right? We call the process of life, which is about the weak, right? That is the utilization of the Tao. Okay. Okay. So that's called, oops, where are we? Okay. The circle. Oh, jeez. Okay. The circle of life. Okay. So we'll describe that in a little bit. Okay. So because the Tao is present in every level of existence, then we can describe the Tao. Okay. We can describe the Tao at these four levels. Okay. From the grand to the small. Okay. So I'm going from the broad aspect down to the more minute aspect. So the grander, from our human perspective, of course, okay, the grand level is the high. Sorry, it's the sky, the heavens. Okay, then the earth. That's the ground level. Okay, or yeah, the reality level. That's because we live on the earth. We don't live in the sky, right? And then on the earth, within the earth level, there's the mirror things or all living things. And then within the mirror things or living things, there's the human beings. Okay. All right. So, so each of the levels follows and reflects the higher level. So the human being level, we reflect the mirror things. The mirror things level reflect the earth. The earth level reflect the sky, okay, or the heaven, okay? All right. So because of the mutual reflection, the mirroring of the patterns between the different levels, we can understand one level better just by just observing a different level, okay? So when the sages, they didn't have science, right? But they observe the heavens and the skies. Then they notice the patterns there, right? That occur, in the heavens or in the sky. Okay. Then they understood it also is reflected on the earth level. Similar patterns, okay, not identical, but similar, okay? And likewise, from the earth level, they can see that the patterns are reflected also in the mirror things and on down to human level, okay? All right. So, higher understanding. We can understand how human beings interact with one another by observing how the heavenly patterns manifest, how seasonal patterns manifest, etc., etc. So from the high to the low. Okay, so we can. All right, okay, or low to the high. Okay, so the implication is by understanding how the circular like or cyclical movements of the Tao can help us to understand the macroscopic, or the big picture from the microscopic picture and vice versa. Okay, so these four levels, okay, they reflect, okay, each other, you can say that, or each, between the levels. Okay, so here are the circular movements or the cycles from the four different levels. Okay, all right, all right. Okay, so let's look at the first level, the higher, the macroscopic level. So the most obvious, right, is this pretty obvious, right? Because, well, especially to the ancients, especially, right? What's the transition from day to night and back again? So sunrise to high noon to sunset to midnight to sunrise. So we have four. I mean, you can divide this up more into what do you call that? Mid-morning, right? Mid-afternoon, evening, and then like that. Well, late midnight, they call it early morning or something like that, right? Okay. I mean, but generally, okay, you can these are the four broad phases. Okay. Now, in chapter 25, saying the heaven follows the laws of the Tao. Okay, right? 天法 Tao. Okay, that's so that's the one obvious observation. Second, the ancients also perceive the circular phases of the moon, four primary phases. Now there are four intermediate, but there's called waxing or waning or something like that. Gibbous, something like that. But those are the intermediate. But that's not important. It's just new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, new moon. So that's lunar calendar, the first of each month. That's the new moon, and then we go to the 15th, which is the full moon. All right, and then go back to the new moon. So that's a circular, right, or cyclical pattern. Okay. Then another one is the ancients studied the nighttime skies. They also saw that the stars, constellations, all moved in circular-like fashion as well. So with scientific advances, with telescopes and whatnot, okay, we know that the moon orbits the Earth, in a fairly regular pattern, 28 days or a little over 28, right? 28 days or something like that, right? Okay. All right. And similarly, the Earth and planets of the solar system orbits the sun. So the Earth takes 365 days. That makes up a full year. Other planets obviously have different lengths, but it's similar, right? I mean, they all go, once around the one orbit around the sun is their year. Okay, all right. And then the solar system orbits the center of the galaxy, Milky Way galaxy. That takes millions of years. I think it's couple hundred million years, or something like that. All right. So, all right, okay. And also the orbit is pretty interesting. It's not planar. I mean, not on a single plane. I think the solar system orbits the center galaxy in like a sine wave fashion. Pretty interesting. It goes up, down, up, down, something like that, like a sine wave. Okay. All right. Okay. Anyway, then the more we learn about universe, the more examples of circular movements. Okay, so that's the modern day. Okay, so that's the sky. Let's talk about the earth, the heaven. Okay, the earth, sorry. Okay, so the earth from chapter 25, what did named it? The earth follows the laws of heaven. Okay, 地法天, all right? So this means the circular movements of heavenly bodies are reflected at the earthbound level as well, right? Just like in the heaven level there, okay? So, for example, high and low tides, they're caused by the gravitational pull of the moon. That's this is important. High and low tides. It's important for people who, whose livelihood depends on, shipping, and also fishermen, obviously. Okay, they have to know when is the high and low tides. Okay, so similarly, on the Earth level, the changing of seasons, which is caused by the Earth's tilt in axis of rotation relative to its orbital plane. All right, that's how we have the 4 seasons. All right, which is crucial knowledge for farmers, right? So these are all changes, right? These changes at the earth level are crucial for humans, right? Okay, all right. Okay, now that's the earth level. Now let's go to the mirror things level, all right? So similarly, the circular movements of earth, okay, the earth, right, the high and low tides, the spring, the four seasons, day, night, etc. Okay, they these patterns are also reflected in mirror things. For example, animal migrations, right? Right? During the winter season, this past season, we see a lot of geese, or I don't know, ducks, geese. They fly south, right? At least they try to go to warmer climates, right? To pass the winter season, right? Okay, so and okay, that's just birds, but land animals too, right? We don't see it here so often. We see deer, but anyway, yeah, they don't. Uh, it's more buffaloes actually. In America, in the Great Plains during the winter season, the American Native American Indians, they tell stories of how huge herds of bison, buffalo, American buffalo, migrate from the northern plains down to the south, okay, or towards the south to the southern plains towards Texas, Oklahoma, that area. Okay, so but we see it in Africa today. The Serengeti, right? Those the mass migration of what they call that, wildebeest. I think wildebeest or whatever. Okay, so they follow seasonal basis. I mean, obviously they were looking for. It's not because of the winter; it's because dry and wet season. They were looking for water. So anyway, okay, all right. So the animal migration, usually on a seasonal basis, following the circular patterns of the seasons manifested. Okay. Similarly, also the circle of life. Okay. So when a living organism dies, it gives new life to another. So it's a ceaseless cycle. Okay. So the sacred interchange of life and death in nature, such as the decaying corpse of animals, provide nutrients to plants, which in turn feed herbivores and then carnivores, etc. So that's the circle of life, okay, or life and death, okay, from there. All right, okay. So so everything in nature is recycled. By the way, nothing ever goes to waste. Yeah, that's the awesome thing about nature, right? It recycles everything. Okay, so unfortunately, in our artificial world, human world, we don't recycle things. So that's why we end up with a huge problem of the garbage, waste, etc. All right. Okay. Now, at the human being level, human beings, okay, we are life forms, right? We're part of the mirrored things. So we partake in all the characteristics of the mirrored things and much more. So same thing in chapter 25, humans follow the laws of earth, right? 人法地, okay? So example, family and lineage, okay? Family and lineage. So individual humans are finite, right? Yeah, I mean, there's only one you, right? But family trees or individual can continue on with family members cycling through life stages. All right. So that's the 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 stage of life. Okay. Or these are birth, childhood, youth, maturity, old age, death. Okay. So that's the popular. So now, I say popular conception of death is that death is the end of our physical self, which is true. I mean, that's partially true, but not the spiritual self, which I'll get to later. Okay. All right. Which we'll get to later. Now, but on a karmic cycle level, okay, so this is on the physical level. Okay. C is karmic, okay, which is above the physical level, metaphysical, you can call it. Okay, so that's our interactions with one another take on circular characteristics as well. It's like energy going out After a certain time, same energy coming back. Okay, so that's very generic. I mean, very broad. Okay, energy. So that's why things reflect back. An example, in the Taoist practitioners or Chinese, they call qi, right? That's energy. So, example, if we get angry, okay, or you could say angry, jealous, envious, etc., okay, we give out, we call it negative qi, okay, or negative qi, yin qi. So when it goes out, let's say we curse people or whatever, we act with rage, okay. So when we give that out, after a while, it's that same negative energy is going to come back and hit us. Okay, so actually, this is, you can say, from the scientific level or physics level, it's the what? I think it's the third law of mechanics, Newtonian mechanics, right? What if you what's that? Give out a force, right? You get the equal repulsion of the same force, right? Something like that, right? That's the third law, okay, of physics, of Newtonian mechanics, okay? All right, okay. So that's at the broad level. But then what about spirituality, though? All right, or the soul or consciousness? Okay, here's where we get to the Buddhist teaching, Buddhist concept of the cycle of reincarnation. That's birth, life, death, rebirth, and then it continues again. Okay, birth, life, death, etc., etc. Okay, all right. So that's the same idea. Okay, all right. So what is the great circle of the Tao? Okay, here it is. We come from the Tao and must eventually return to it. Right. So that's the okay. So the Tao, you can say, is the source or the origin, okay, or the essence. We can say 一本, right? So, 一本生万物, right? We say the source gives rise to everything, right? That's the Tao, creates everything. Okay, that was in last chapter. We talked about that, right? Okay, among previous chapters too. Okay, so but just the last chapter also talk. But we also know that all things must return to the source or to the essence. So 万物归一本. Okay, that's also from last chapter. Okay, so all things must eventually return to the Tao. And then the cycle repeats again. All right. Then once again, then after all things return to the essence, then the essence also then gives rise to all things. And then all things return back to the essence. And then it continues. Okay. So given all the above, everything that we can observe at the heaven or sky level, at the earth level, at the mirror things level, and our human levels, then we can pretty much conclude with certainty that physical death cannot be the end. Okay, so that's where on the point B, family and lineage, the death is not the end. Okay, actually, after death, you get rebirth. Okay, so that's what samsara, that's what Buddha taught. Okay, all right. All right, so the key point is the circular or cyclical movements of the Tao manifest throughout these four levels that we reduced to make it simple: the heaven level, the earth level, mirror things, and humans. So each level follows and reflects the level above. Each level mutually reflects each level, mirroring the patterns among the different levels. Thus, we can better understand one level just by observing another level. That's how the ancient sages, because they have this great wisdom, they just observe one level and then they can see that it extends or mirrors or reflects the other levels as well. All right? Okay? All right. Whew. Oh God, it's almost an hour. Okay. Wow. Okay. Then the the third line, now we're in the second section, last section. The mirror things of the world are born from being. Okay. All right. Let's look at basic meaning. All living things can be traced back to what? A source that is also a living thing, right? That's how we do the family tree, right? So another meaning is for plants. We know that a tree grew from a seed, which used to be inside a fruit, which used to hang from the branch of the parent tree. And then going back further, the parent tree itself grew from a seed, which used to be inside a fruit, which used to hang from the branch of the grandparent tree, and so on, right? So you can trace the lineage, just like, for plants. For humans, same thing, right? For humans, physically, we come from our biological parents. Mentally, well, we are the product of our upbringing, education, experiences, okay? All right? Okay, that's external, internal. Then in the case of plants, where was the most primordial tree? Where's the first tree? It also becomes like a chicken and egg, dilemma. Okay. All right. So because the primordial tree has to come from a seed, but then that seed is part of a fruit that came from a tree. So therefore, is it the seed or the tree? Okay, whatever. Okay. So where's our most remote ancestor? Okay. So for humans. Okay. So everything in the world comes from something that already existed, right? I mean, the fuse, it has to come. But that's at a very physical, material level or scientific level, okay? But here's the thing, though. All that come into being are the manifestations of Tao, or the functions of Tao, are the named, okay? So in chapter 1, fourth phrase, the name is the mother of mirrored things, okay? So what is the named? So the named comes from being, existence, which are the Tao functions. Before there is existence, there are only limitless possibilities or potentialities, limitless manifestation of Tao. So in this sentence, he says, are born from being. Okay, so all things in this world, okay, animate, inanimate, are born from being, comes from being, which comes from something that already exists, that has a name, okay, label. So that's very scientific, right? That's scientific. But the last phrase, here it is, it's kind of like beyond science, okay? And that's the Tao. So being is born, though, from non-being. So he's saying that, yeah, so Lao Tzu is saying that everything comes from being or something that already exists, right? That's what this phrase means. But then at the concluding phrase, he's saying, but something that exists comes from something that didn't exist. Okay, all right. Ooh, okay. So what is that meaning? It just says that all being or existence came from nothingness or the void or non-existence or non-being. Okay. So then the ultimate question is, how far back can you go? What if we reach back to a time before the Earth existed, before the galaxy existed, before the Big Bang? Oh, okay. How far back can we go? So science will reach its limit, right? It cannot go beyond the Big Bang. There's no scientific solution, right? Okay, to that question. So, in this scenario, where was the grandparent tree? Where was our most remote ancestor? Okay, yeah. So, here it is. The conclusion we are forced to reach is that if we go back far enough to the very beginning, we reach a point where nothing exists, which is the void or non existence. Okay, we say 无极. Okay, all right. So here, the higher understanding is this: but whatever existed or being since the beginning came from the void or nothingness. Okay. For example, before everything came into existence after the Big Bang, there was nothingness or void or non-existence before the Big Bang. Right? Okay. So the higher understanding of non-being is the name of the nameless, the Tao that cannot be called the Tao. The nameless is the true emptiness. The Tao essence is the source of everything. Okay, so this is from chapter 1. All right. Okay, so implication is just as for all things, our Buddha nature essence is true emptiness, true void, and then marvelous existence. But there's marvelous existence. Okay, that is the true void is non-emptiness within the void. So it seems like paradoxical. Okay, so that's why it's called a true void or true emptiness. Okay, because there is something. There's marvelous existence, and the marvelous existence is the formless existence. True form of the formless. Okay. All right. It's just that we can't see it. That's why it's the limitless or infinite possibilities. Okay. So here's the conclusion. Okay. So thus, all things come out of the Buddha nature essence. Then after a while, after some time, they all return back to the Buddha nature essence. Okay. We talked about that in last chapter. Okay. And then all things eventually return to the source. The Tao essence is the nameless. Okay, that's from chapter 1, third phrase. Okay, so as the recurring cycles of nature are non-conditioned, to conform to the non-conditioned way is the Tao following the way of nature. Okay, all right, chapter 25. Okay, so the Tao following the way of nature is to conform to the non-conditioned way. Okay, that's the Wu way. This is called returning repetition. So that's why it's called returning repetition. So this is the utilization, which is the natural, non-conditioned manifestation of Tao. Okay, I just want to go to the summary. It took an hour. Okay, so one, the nature of the Tao, actually it should be say manifestation of Tao, is to have great circular or cyclical patterns. That's the nature of the Tao manifestation, okay? And the weak is like the water which nourishes all things. And that is the function or manifestation of Tao. It's to nourish all things, okay? Or to give, provide for all things to flourish, like that valley, right? Last chapter, chapter 39. So the recurring cycles or circular movements of nature are non-conditioned, okay? That's the way it is. That's its nature, okay? It's not conditioned, just so it is, okay? So that's the way it is. So non-conditioned belongs to nature, okay? Okay, so we're not talking about Mother Nature. That's what nature means. It's innate character, innate attribute. Okay, 属性 we say 属性. Okay, 属于 right 自然属性. Okay, so from chapter 25, right, it says humans follow the laws of the earth follows the laws of heaven, heaven follows the laws of Tao, the Tao follows the laws of nature, which maps to the 4 levels of change. Right, human beings reflects, right, or reflect or mirror things mirrors the earth mirrors the heaven. So where each level reflects and follows the others. So ultimately humans follow the way of nature, right? Humans follow the way, this transitive axiom, or what do they call it? Okay. All right. So, right. Okay. All right. So ultimately humans follow the way of nature. I have, let me just spend, because, okay, so this concludes, sorry, chapter 40. I know it took longer than I expected. A lot to talk about, but let me, because chapter 41 is very long and I don't want to make it into 2 sessions. So, I mean, next week and then the following week. because I want to get on 42, which is how can I say? 42 is a more detail, if you will, okay, part of chapter 40. Okay, talks about the cosmology. How the Tao creates everything. Okay, so that's the cosmos. Okay, so let me just go into the intro section or if I have some time to talk about section 1 of chapter 41. Okay, let's go to 41. Right, okay, so 41 is relatively long. Okay, as you can, right? It's according to this summary, it's 18 lines. It's like 20, I think it's 24 phrases. Okay, all right, so it's in 1, 2, 3 sections. Okay, it's the conclusion has a subsection, has 2 sections, subsections. But this is a different topic. It's called hearing the Tao, or hearing of the Tao, or the Tao qualities. It's 文道章 or 道品章. All right, okay, section 1. It's a lot to talk about, but let me try to at least get to the first 2 sections, because then next week I'm gonna finish all of 41, which is a lot. All right, so let's jump to 41. Okay, it's just 41. Yeah. Okay. Oops. Oh man, it's a lot. It's 15-page outline, so that's a lot. Let me, if you spare me some time, let's see, I'll just talk about, I'll talk 2.5 pages. Okay, 3 pages. I'll try to get at least through the first page. Okay, all right, so okay, chapter 41, hearing the Tao. He's talking about section 1. Okay, first phrase or line right there. Higher people hear of the Tao and diligently practice it. All right, so the meaning of 上士, okay, it literally means high scholars or student or high level. Okay, I can say superior, but high. So at the general level, it's an individual at a higher level of understanding of Tao in the broadest sense. Okay, broadest sense. Okay, it doesn't mean it's not restricted to just a person who only knows Tao. Okay, so that's very narrow. Okay, but we're talking about the broadest level, which includes spirituality, philosophy, and life in general. So just means a person who's at a very high level of understanding about meaning of life, about spirituality, about philosophy, etc. Okay, so this higher level person is someone who is wise in living, even though he or she may not be a cultivator of Tao. Doesn't have to be a Tao follower or cultivator. Doesn't have to, right? Because the narrow, you can say in the Confucian terminology of 君子, right? We say superior person. Then a 君子 is a subset of this higher level, right? Because 君子is a 君子, a superior person, specifically in the 4 books, implies means a high level, a cultivator of the Tao. Okay, so that's a subset of this. Okay, of high. So someone, let's see. Okay, so the specific is a person who is an advanced cultivator of the Tao, a person of great moral character, similar to a superior person. Okay, so 大丈夫 or 君子, that's a subset or more specific, more narrow of the 上士. Okay, the basic meaning of this first phrase is this: it just means those who are aligned or in tune with the Tao, who have a higher level of understanding of life, will be profoundly affected when they come into contact with the Tao. Yeah, it'll have, though, okay, another meaning is those who are wise in living life will resonate greatly when they come into contact with the Tao. It will affect them or influence them greatly. Okay, all right. or inspire, you can say inspire them greatly. Okay, so this is not limited to just who are students, to just those who are students or cultivators now. Anyone who has an intuitive wisdom of life will respond in a similar way. All right, so further understanding is this includes all those who may not have any deep connection to Tao previously, but now are more affected when they hear the Tao. So, it could be people who never encountered the Tao before, but then when they heard the Tao or hear the Tao, then they become affected, okay, greatly. All right. Let's talk about the second phrase, which is on the general level. It's just the person who has a higher level of understanding of life will diligently and earnestly practice the Tao. Now, the Tao in the broader sense, I don't mean specific Tao, but it could include spirituality, philosophy, life, etc. Okay. Now, on the specific level, it's those who are students or cultivators of Tao will put into practice diligently. So it'd be like the Da Zhang Fu, which means Da Zhang Fu, which is person of great moral character or a superior person in the Confucian teachings. Okay, so that's the more specific. Okay, all right, that's what's specific. Okay, now then there's additional. It's that those who are cultivators of the Tao will actually practice the Tao in earnest. Okay, not on and off. Okay, those are always will be earnest. Okay, or constant. Okay, so those who are aligned or in tune with the Tao know the key to mastery is diligent practice, constant day-to-day practice. The high-level person is proactive in their diligent practice. Okay, so the higher person understand that actions are always part of the Tao. So good things in life happen as a result of both thinking or mental and doing actions. Okay, so you have to have both. Okay, that's what diligent strive for or taking action means. Okay, so in reality, and in the Tao, in reality and in the Tao, there's no spontaneous manifestation from wishing alone, right? Just because you wish doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay, so in addition to good positive thoughts, there must be earnest action and diligent practice. Okay, so that's important. So the key point is higher level Tao cultivators are not only highly aware, that is, they resonate powerfully with the Tao. They're aware, they have this awareness, high level of awareness, but also highly motivated. So both awareness and motivation are the hallmarks or the traits, key traits of high level Tao cultivators. They're not just thinkers or talkers, but also proactive, diligent, and earnest practitioners as well. Okay, so now comes the second line is the average people hear of the Tao. They sometimes keep it and sometimes lose it. All right. So 中士, okay, literally means average, mid-level scholar students. In general, at a broad level, it just means people of average level of understanding of life or in the study of the Tao. Okay. On a specific level, it's mid-level cultivators of Tao who lack consistency in their awareness, motivation, commitment, and intention in learning and practicing the Tao. Okay. All right. So basic meaning is first phrase is average people or mid-level students of Tao are those who have their moments. Yeah. Okay. But they're not consistently aware or motivated. Okay. They have their moments. Sometimes, wow, they really did well, do well, or really diligent, really learned and practiced. But other times, not so good. All right, not so much. Okay, other line, they slack off other times. Okay, so students of Tao include those who are students of life, spirituality, philosophy. Okay, this is where most people are. Okay, most of us fall into this category of the average. Okay, the mid-level. Okay, so additional is Difference between the higher level and mid-level students is the difference in the level of consistency in their awareness and motivation, and also practice. But okay, all right. So the further understanding is the mid-level people can be full of enthusiasm when they start work on something. But after a while, they'll lose interest and drift away. Okay. So further understanding is mid-level people are sometimes motivated, sometimes apathetic, sometimes energized, sometimes indifferent, because they have difficulty in maintaining a basic level of motivation and energy. Okay, so basic meaning of second phrase is it means as if existing, as if dead. Sometimes it's just there, sometimes it's not there. It's failure to keep up with practice. Okay, so another meaning is sometimes you have it, so it exists in your life. Sometimes you forget all about it, so it's gone from your life. All right. So if you learn and practice the Tao consistently, so you always have it, so it exists. But if you don't learn and practice the Tao, then you're gonna forget about it. So therefore, it's gone from your life. All right. Okay. So sometimes it's alive and well, sometimes it's dead and forgotten. So this is typical of the mid-level students of Tao and of the mid-level students of life. Sometimes they keep up with practice, sometimes they don't. Okay. So the greatest challenge of most people is that they are stuck in this mid-level group. Sometimes motivated, sometimes apathetic, sometimes energized, sometimes indifferent. So the greatest difference between the high level and the mid level is in the level of consistency in their awareness and motivation. So most people are in the mid level category. Most people are in the mid level category because they have trouble. Oh, shoot. Okay. They have trouble maintaining a consistent level of energy and motivation. So this is the greatest challenge for me. Okay, so like example, we see that, right? Not just ourselves, but we see that at the temple level, right? During certain times or events, such as a Dharma class, we have so many class members, right? We have hundreds. And then, but then come, I don't know, a month, maybe even less, but at least 2, 3 months later, 90% of those people disappear or they don't show up. That's the most obvious example of mid-level people, right? Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. In this case, probably sometimes a few times they have it and a lot of times they don't. Okay, so that's us. Okay, the most of us are stuck at this level. Okay, so that's why we don't have that many sages or even Junzi, superior people. Okay, because those are far and few. It's like a pyramid. Okay, so the high level people are rare. Okay, scarce. All right. Do I have time? I'm already 75 minutes. Okay, yeah, I'll try to do this in 5 minutes. Okay, so the third phrase is lower people hear the Tao, then they laugh at it. They say, "Hey, okay, all right. Okay, 大笑 literally means great laughter, boisterous laugh, hearty laugh. Okay, all right, okay. So, all right. So the basic meaning of line is the lower students are those who understand the least about the Tao or life and resist the learning of the Tao the most. Okay, so they're the most reluctant to learn about the Tao. So they laugh loudly at the idea of studying and practicing the Tao. They ridicule or deride those who are learning and practicing the Tao. All right. So another meaning is, however, the loud laugh or ridicule is not an expression of joy and happiness and can be due to the following. Okay, so they may laugh at the mid-level or higher level people, but that laugh is not due to that they themselves are happy or have joy. Okay, it's not that. It's due to this. They laugh is due to ignorance. A new idea may be so beyond one's comfort zone that is automatically seen as ridiculous. Okay, so they laugh loudly or boisterously because one reason is because they're ignorant. Okay. Second, another reason is they laugh loudly because they're mocking. That's the standard tactic for bullies in attempting to elevate themselves by putting something or someone down. I mean, it's related to ignorance, but they like to mock because they think they are better or they know better than you. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's mocking people. All right. Okay. So generally, the lower people are those who tend to be cynical, sarcastic, dismissive, and arrogant, right? Because they're arrogant, right? They think they know better, right? Okay. So, all right. Also could be cynical too. Okay. It's not that lower people are unintelligent or lack the ability to learn. Rather, it's their attitude and closed-minded tendency that blocks their own advancement and progress in the understanding of life and Tao. Okay, so yeah, it's not that lower people are stupid, okay, or unintelligent. As a matter of fact, a lot, maybe most of lower people are very intelligent, okay, but they have a very negative attitude. Let's put it that way. Okay. All right. All right. So the implication is the lower people tend to be close minded. So they will tend to be unwilling to listen to something of value that may help them. So this lack of open mindedness is their greatest challenge to overcome. So you can say that is all due to ignorance. Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's part of the three poisons, right? So okay, so the key point is the lower people's tendency to be close-minded is perhaps their greatest obstacle for their own improvement and progress and presents one of the greatest challenge for them to overcome. All right, let me just finish this last phrase. All right, okay, so because it follows from this previous phrase, it's if they do not laugh, it will not be fit to be called the Tao. Okay, and here's why. Basic meaning is the naysayers' reactions generally have a pattern. Yeah, unwise ideas might be accepted while actual wisdom might be rejected or criticized. Another meaning is because of this pattern or tendency, this was sufficiently predictable that ignorant laughter could be used to gauge the quality and accuracy of the Tao teachings. All right. So, okay. So, conversely, if the lower level people did not laugh loudly or ridicule at the teachings, then it may be teachings are not the best or true Tao teachings. So just remember, next time when you're talking about Tao to people who never heard of it, if they laugh really loudly at you or ridicule you or whatever, or then ooh, the Tao, the level of Tao, the quality of the Tao that you're talking about is pretty high. Okay, all right, all right. So in our learning and practice of the Tao, if people will laugh or ridicule us, what? Ridicule, right? Ridicule us. That's the verb. Okay, then we can be confident that we are on the right track. So if no one ridicules or laughs loudly at the Tao, then this Tao has no value. All right. So when people laugh or ridicule us for learning and practicing the Tao, then it proves that this Tao is precious. So the key point is, as cultivators of Tao, we need to reflect on which level of cultivation we belong to. If we are sometimes aware and motivated, sometimes unaware and unmotivated, then we are only average. So we need to become more committed in learning, understanding, and practicing the Tao. Okay, so I'm going to finish here. Tomorrow, next week, I'll do the table summary. I'll do the summary which talks about this. I know we almost have 90 minutes. So because I don't want to spend 2 hours on next week to finish this class, this chapter. All right. So we still got like 13 page. 13 and a half pages, okay, to go through roughly, all right, for this chapter. So just let you know, summary one is basically it, which we will start out with next week. Next week is basically this. I just summarize, okay? All right, so it's pretty interesting, all right? So kind of summarize, all right? Then, okay, so I'll stop here. And if I have not said things clearly or did not say things correctly, I ask for the Buddha's and Lao Tzu's forgiveness.